We're here at David Ericson's gallery for the opening of Brian Kershisnik's show that will open on September 18th. We're going to walk you through the whole show. Start here. Go into this room. There's Dave and Brian.
Hi, Tanya.
Hello.
Hi. Well, welcome to the Crowded Dream exhibit. Dave and I are going to walk through and talk about some of the pieces. We'll just start here, this one here. It's called Young Immortals, Planting the Trees. And there are several images, several paintings in this show that came from an experience that I had at the Met in New York a year or two ago. And we were looking at the Asian ceramics, and my wife at one point said, "You've got to come in here and see these labels." So these were labels on the Asian ceramics, and I like to repurpose titles, and so I've done a number of paintings that are based on the labels. So there would be like a platter that would say dish with immortals and heroes, or dish with scholars and heroes, and I've done works based on those titles, not based on the imagery, but it got me thinking about immortals and including immortals and what makes someone an immortal in a painting, and essentially it's the title, you know. It just
are we all immortal?
Yeah, I like, well, one of the things about, like in this instance, adding young immortal is, what is, in immortality, what is young? What does that mean to be a young immortal? But I like the idea of, it just feels very optimistic to have these children planting trees, which is always, I mean, from my infancy, just always seemed like such a permanent participation in the world, and I kind of like the idea of a bunch of immortal kids kind of getting an assignment of, oh, plant that forest over there. Yeah, anyway, so this is there. I think there might even be another image
There is
that will come to. There are a number of immortals. Yeah,
Tell me the name of this one.
This one is called. This is a French title, and excuse my my pronunciation, but it's called Les Immortals avec le jus de deux oranges, which means the immortals with the juice of two oranges. And so these immortal people, and presumably dog,
the dog's certainly immortal.
certainly, yeah, are just celebrating the magic, something that I kind of, when I freshly squeeze 2 oranges in the morning, I feel like this is something that the gods do. So anyway, it just feels so fabulous. And
I'm going to show those other small ones in
Okay.
the room.
yeah, this is revisiting a subject that I come back to periodically. It's called My Ancestors Kissed, and I've been painting lovers for as long as I've been painting, and I suspect I will continue to do so. This is just kind of a contemplation of my ancestors, Slovenian farmers and miners. When they immigrated to this country, they were economic refugees. I mean, the whole family wouldn't come at the same time. You know, usually the man would come and get a place to live and earn some money and then send it over. Anyway, and I just think about that sadness and that humanity and that optimism. And so anyway, this is another subject that I think we have a couple versions of dreams, which is there's obviously the Puvis de Chavannes painting called Le Rêve, the Dream, which is I've always just been amazed by. It's in Musée d'Orsay and just thrills me. But This isn't referring specifically to that composition, but it also has a French title. It's called Le Rêve de Fardeau Invisible, which means the dream of the invisible burden. Invisible burdens is a subject that I've been dealing with for a while, and this is kind of combining these kind of automatic stream of consciousness compositions with this man carrying something that we can't see. And I don't know what it all means. I kind of paint it to kind of see what happens. Just like in my dreams, I'm not sure what they all mean. But I'll mention something about the dreams here in a minute that happened right in the middle of this room at the last the opening for the show in 2019. This is called Glorious Mother Eve. This dress is kind of the history of the world, and there's lots of life and war and eating and lots of corpses. You know, the horizontal people are the dead, and there are boats and fires and banquets and horses and elephants and dogs, and anyway, it's but I love the complexity of the story of Eve. And you know, in some theologies she's kind of almost like a villain. I have a fairly heroic sense of Eve, even if the fall was brought about by a deception, kind of having to go forward and in spite of this incredible obstacle. I think Eve's a great hero. So
You worked on this painting how long?
Oh my gosh, I started this painting years ago, and it's just it was on the wall. I wasn't working on it constantly, but it was important, and I didn't want to rush it. And so anyway, this painting has been on my wall for on the wall of the studio in progress for probably 3 or 4 years. But
Or more.
Yeah, or I feel like it finally came together, and I'm pleased with how it's turned out. So, giving her a great big halo. So let me see. Let's this painting here. It's called "They Keep Going," and I think that. I don't know what's happened to them, but they are a family, and being a family means obstacle, and having obstacles means you have the option of you keep going or you don't, and they keep going, which I'm glad about. So in here, this is a strange little picture, a gory little picture. It's called Saving the Naked Man. It's kind of a reaction to those Victorian paintings of the armored man saving the beautiful naked maiden. It's a reversal, gender reversal.
Or Saint George and the Dragon.
Yeah, right. But just changing the gender. That in my life I've been bailed out from awkward situations by women more often than I have bailed them out. So anyway, this odd little picture. This is called Defeated Decisively. I was having trouble reading it. Which is a line from the Rilke poem, The Man Watching, which is just an incredible poem. At the end, the conclusion is this. It's referring to a man in that case, but it says this is how he grows, by being defeated decisively by ever greater beings. And I think that's a great idea, and I wanted to think about that in this piece. Okay, over here we have this is called The Reunion, and there's so much, I think, that drives human endeavor, that is driven by a hope for a resolution and a reunion, whether it's a reunion with God, a reunion with each other, or a reunion with a time that we remember that was happier, and so this is kind of a contemplation of a coming together of it's a happy reunion, this one. This one here, not a reunion, down below it on the road to Jericho, is called, which is actually a contemplation of, I'm reading a book called The Short Stories of Jesus, and I think Levine is the name of the author, and she is a Jewish scholar specializing in the parables of Jesus, and it's really fascinating. Culturally, she talks about aspects that we don't really fully understand in the story that we call the Good Samaritan. It's never referred to that in the scriptures. One of the aspects that was interesting to me is the fact that the Samaritan helped the Israelite who had been beaten up, that they would have understood there was a huge cultural, almost racial difference, that in contemporary language, it would be the Palestinian who stopped and helped the Israeli on the road, and so I was kind of interested in exploring that, the racial difference, the one that you would expect to be an enemy or a threat is actually the one who helps this man, and so it's obviously not on an ancient road. This is a modern highway, but it's so that's what's going on here. Then this is another hero painting. Matter of fact, this one is called A Dish with Three Heroes, but in this instance there is a dish and three heroes,
Or a dish.
yeah. And the child, it was a later addition, but I like the idea of including children in this, and the idea of the heroic. There's this beautiful cemetery in London that I stumbled on. It's right by it seems like it's right by the Museum of London, but it's a cemetery commemorating children who died saving children. So who jumped into the water to save a drowning sibling, or who ran into the house. Anyway, I like the idea, and remember from my own childhood the incredible amount of courage and bravery that was kind of demanded on a regular basis. We think of childhood as being fairly simple and unencumbered and carefree, but it involves a lot of everything's new, everything is. So that's why I have a child among my heroes here. Let me see.
Over here we have Brian.
Oh, here?
The beekeeper.
Yeah, this is called Happy Bees, Happy Keeper. Yeah, a little painting of a man keeping bees. Happy. This is sculpture called Observed. This is another Immortals piece that goes back to something that Dave said a minute ago when he said we are all immortals. This is called Unfinished Immortals, and obviously the painting is, parts of it are finished, parts of it are unfinished, but not only is the painting unfinished, but that the aspect of us that is immortal is unfinished. And so that's I like both the metaphor, and I love unfinished paintings. I love paintings in progress, and so anyway, kept this one in that state. And it's remarkably difficult to intentionally make a painting unfinished. It's complicated. This painting called Warning was actually a fragment from a larger composition that wasn't working, and so I cut it up and this man became someone who was giving a warning to us. I'm not sure what he's warning us of or who he is, but we are warned by him.
Okay, before we go in that room, I'm gonna quickly pan over to these.
Oh, these down here.
Let's go in this other room.
I'm doing all right for time? Okay, great, it's great. Good.
This way.
Okay, this is the piece that's on the show card. It's another dream piece. It's called RêVE BONDÉ, which is the crowded dream, which that's the translation, that's the name of the show. And this, as is the case with all of my dream paintings, this was painted fairly automatically, and so I'll just kind of compositionally throw it together and then add things and subtract things and mess with it, and the title came actually quite at the end for this one. And so as far as metaphorically, I'm still working on what this piece means. Often for me, the pieces that have this peculiar meaning, it's kind of a wordless meaning, and this piece functions that way for me.
The thing that's marvelous about this, and it's by far my favorite painting here, is the marks. That Brian has, and he has. You feel his drawing, you feel his painting, you feel his energy, and you feel his wonder, and it's just marvelous.
Yeah, I feel like that comes through in here. I think on Instagram there's a post of me painting in all of these dots. You know? Anyway, in time lapse, not in real time. You don't want to see that in real time. But yeah, just experimenting with the drips going up, you know, as kind of a surreal feature, and it's also very interesting and disorienting for me to paint faces that huge, you know, so much bigger than I am, and it puts me in a very different mental space, and to paint these people and try to fathom what they're thinking about or what they're doing or what's happening. But this is that I meant to. Oh, and this is this painting here is the one that I was referring to earlier. That came from a discussion that happened there in the middle of that room. It's called Le Rêve des Songes, which is French for the dream of the dreams. And what happened was I did a painting. I think it was for your show called The Arrival of Angels last year. And I wanted to use a French title, and my French is not good. So I thought that the word Advent was from the French word avant, and so which in French means before. It doesn't mean arrival. And I thought angel was angle, which means angle. And so I called that painting, wrote on the painting, Avant des angles, which means before the angles. And so I thought that sounded nice, but it just doesn't mean anything. And so a friend who does speak French said, what's this? And I said, oh, it's before the angels. He says, no, that's L'arrivée des anges. So I changed the title on the painting to say L'arrivée des anges, which is also a nice sounding French title. And so I went home and told that story to my wife. I said, I had to change this name of the painting because I had the French wrong, and so I changed it to L'arrivée des anges. And she speaks French a little better than me, but we both struggle. Me with pronunciation and her with understanding what I said. She thought I said Le Rêve des singes, which means the dream of the monkeys. And so I corrected her, but I thought, I really like that. So I wrote it down, Le Rêve des Singes, and I've done a few paintings of the dream of the monkeys. And I was telling that story to a French teacher at the opening last year. And so when I got to that point where I said Le Rêve des Singes, I expected her to laugh, except I mispronounced it again. I said Le Rêve des Singes. and rather than laughing, she said, oh, that's very beautiful. And I thought, well, what are you talking about? And of course, that means the dream of the dreams. so I quickly wrote that down too. And so there are a few versions that have come up so far of the dream of the dreams. So.
Okay, we have this one over here.
Oh, the lovers and dancers in the space between trees. Yeah, and the show, as you can see, is not completely hung. Dave is still putting it together and deciding what's going up and where things are going. And but we wanted to give you a taste of what's happening. Here's another young immortal planting the trees, solitary figure. Anyway, are there any other questions? Any other things we ought to?
Show some books and different types of things that you're doing.
Oh yeah, this is the album that came my band, Tiny Bicycle Parade. This is my friend Steve Vistonnet and I and a group
you have
of
another one close to
and an album coming out within weeks or months here. This is a publication of the Book of Mormon that I did woodcuts for. It's the Maxwell Institute's study edition. Is that what it's called? Maxwell, yeah, study edition. Grant Hardy is the editor, and it's the footnoting and such is brilliant. I like the illustrations, but the text is and the footnotes are really amazing. This is a suite of woodcuts that were done for the book. Just the prints themselves. This is a suite of prints called the Death Suite, kind of interesting, melancholy and funny contemplation of death and our experience with death. This is my old book from 2002, Kershisnik Painting from Life. This is the more recent one from 2 years ago, Looking for Something. And this is the Book of Ruth, which I did with Trist Press, a letterpress book with woodcuts. So. And
these are all available.
These are all
Here
available.
at Ericson Gallery.
And do you have any questions about any of this work or anything else?
I have one more in here.
Oh, then
There's a couple
refer
more.
them to Dave.
Head down the hall.
Oh.
Finish
yeah.
where we began.
This will be a little tricky for you to see.
This is
Oh,
really
let's see.
tricky
I'm going to come down the hall this way. There's
Okay.
one here.
because we have a conversation with heroes and immortals.
Yeah.
And this is what Brian's paintings are about. He's, in my opinion, he's the hero. These are the immortals, and we're having a conversation.
Oh, nice.
And that's the fun thing that I hope that all of you have been able to do is see how fun it is to think and dream and enjoy his paintings in your homes.
Well, another thing that happened with this title was I was trying to decide who's the hero and who are the immortals, and I just made it ambiguous by pluralizing both of them. So there are three people, and yet there are plural heroes and plural immortals. Maybe they're all heroes and all immortals, or anyway. But that's another feature, is that I don't want you to feel like I've made all the decisions about what these paintings mean. But I like that idea. I mean, I hope that my paintings, I aspire to my paintings being a conversation between heroes and immortals. So.
Let's go end in that
In here?
area. Yeah, there's a little better light.
Okay.
Show this one again. There's a few sculptures.
And all of this work can be viewed on Dave's website, and refer all inquiries to him. And if we intend to have the reception as scheduled We'll have to observe social distancing and masks, but we hope to see some of you then. But otherwise, if you want to come before or after, just make arrangements and appointments with Dave.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.